Great. String shortener, shrink. Write a function that shortens a string to a given length. Instead of cutting the string from the end, your function will shorten it from the middle, like shrinking. For example, given the sentence, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, shorten, passing in sentence and the integer 27 will give us the quick br ... the lazy dog. Your function should also accept an optional argument called glue to get the parts together. This quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, but passing in the same arguments with an additional parameter of glue with dash 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 would give us the same result, but with dash 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 in the middle instead of ... The rules are simple. Okay, we'll see about that. Result must always be equal to the given length. Only exception to the above rule is when the string is already shorter than the given length. In that case, string should be returned untouched. If no glue is sent, an ellipses or ... should be used by default. If glue cannot go exactly in the middle, second part should be longer. If glue cannot fit in the shortened string, string should be shortened without shrinking, meaning shortening hello world with a limit of 5 and 4 dots should return hello, because 4 char glue, meaning this one has a length of 4, glue cannot fit in the shortened string. Glue must have at least one character on both ends. Example, a minimum of h ... d for hello world results, or 4 dots and then a d, or h and then 4 dots are not accepted. This is accepted spelled wrong. Someone needs to get in there, fix it. That's accepted with an A. You can assume you'll always receive a string as the sentence and the glue, and integer number for the length. Think about other possible edge cases. There are some surprises. Okay, this problem is not nearly as trivial as our last problem, but we will work to follow the same standards. So some clarifying questions I might ask. Is there any limit to how short and how long this glue can be? Can I get an empty string for glue? Again, when we're in this kind of environment, whether it's LeetCode or CodeWars, no one's going to answer our questions, right? I might, though, even write down my questions or make mental notes, practicing to myself how I would ask questions in an interview. That's one thing. For the limit, if I were to get a 0 for the limit, does that mean I return an empty string? Seems like it. That would make the most sense to me. Hello world. Yeah, okay, I get a string here. Okay. Anybody else think of some clarifying questions here? Or anything that's not even, if you have questions about the problems, it's a good time to ask. Those will all be clarifying questions. Okay. If I'm not at a place where I can summarize the problem, then I'll just skip to ask clarifying questions, but I'll always come back to this, right? These steps are a little bit, they have some interplay between them, or maybe you can partially summarize the problem, but then you have some clarifying questions, which allows you to better summarize the problem, and I go back and summarize the problem again. I don't move on until I've done this well. I'm not going to go to, I'm not going to go too far before I feel like I've summarized it well. Okay, so if I were to summarize this problem, I'd say in the interview, okay, so we're given a string of words, of characters, and then we're given sort of a limit for how long that string can be. What we need to do is we need to take away from the middle of the string and shorten it until it fits that limit. However, in the middle of the string, by default, we want to use ... and that counts toward the limit of the string. So the default is 3 dots. So I wouldn't have more than the limit minus 3 characters in total on either side. Additionally, we could be given a specific thing to put in the middle that would override our default of the ellipses or the ... in which case I'd have to look at that and then adjust accordingly. There's some other edge cases, which I don't think I'm going to summarize right now. But of course, one that they discussed was that if our glue, so to speak, is even longer or almost as long as our limit, then we just shorten the string. So this problem has so much that's pretty good summary, right? I don't expect you to get every edge case in your summary, just lay a groundwork for the problem. Then I check in with the interviewer. Does that sound right? Do you see? I think I didn't fully elaborate some edge cases, but does my understanding of the problem match with yours? And wait and see what they say. Yeah, Jordan, I think it does. No, Jordan, I actually thought this. Oh, I didn't understand this. Or yeah, it does. Now, what did they say about the length of the string on either side? Okay, he wants more clarification there, or she wants more clarification there. Oh, it says that if one side is shorter, it would be the first side, the front, and the second half would be the longer side. Yep, okay, yeah, that's what I understood too. Or, oh, you know what? I might say I didn't pick up on that. Let me actually go back and read again. Okay, great. It's a discussion led by me, the interviewer, right? But pulling the interviewee, I'm sorry, led by me in the position of being interviewed, but pulling the interviewer into it by asking them, does what I'm saying make sense? Does that match with your understanding of the problem? Do you see anything that I missed in this problem in my summary of the problem? Inviting them to help me. Yeah, Jordan, you missed this, or what about this, or did you think about this? Great. Okay. What I see again, I mean, I do a lot of practice interviews with people where I'm the interviewer, and I do some real interviews where I'm the interviewer as well. And I see so many people summarize the problem to the best of their understanding, and they just move on. They are gone. They don't give me any chance as the interviewer to clarify, to ask them more questions, suggest something, to say, hey, did you think about this? Nothing of that. They just, boom, they're gone. Like they did it. I think people get nervous and they don't want to be told they're wrong, or they don't want to be told they missed something. And so they're just like the roadrunner, just like gone. And I'm like standing there in a cloud of dust, like, whoa, you just missed 3 parts of this problem and you didn't give me any chance to talk about it. And I'm not inclined to just stop you and interview, especially if I'm interviewing, right? As a real interview. When I'm practicing with someone, I might stop them. But anyhow, I stop them. I tell them, hey, you need to ask this because I would have told you this, this, and this. Okay. Questions? We're good. Move on. Next step. Great. Let's make some examples. Now, here's a great example of a problem where, 2 or 3 examples is not going to cut it. We need a lot of examples. So I'm going to scroll down to just kind of look at this as I make my examples. All right. Tell the interviewer. Okay. So I could get an empty string for my sentence. Right. And then no matter what I got for the limit or what I got for the glue, I'm thinking I'm just going to return an empty string. Okay. And then I check in with the interviewer. There's a lot going on here. I'll tell the interviewer there's a lot going on here. So I'm thinking no matter what the limit is, even if it's a 0 or if it's 110, I'm still just getting an empty string. And whether that something is passed in or not, I don't have any room for it in my empty string. So I think that's my answer. Okay, what if I'm given a single character and then I'm given some kind of limit? Now, if the limit here is like 100, something big, right? Then I'm still getting just the character back. I don't really need to shorten it. So here's a case where my input is shorter than my limit. Does that look right? And you guys tell me if I mess up here, I might mess up. I've never done this problem before, and I'm just like you guys. I'll get things wrong. So my sentence comes in. It's 1 character. My limit is 100. I've got plenty of room for the full sentence. I've got no need to use the glue. Okay, yeah, there I am. Now that would be the same if I had something like the cat is fast. I don't know why I'm on cat and dog examples today. And I had a more practical limit of say 25. Well, this is shorter than 25. So again, I don't even need to consider the glue. I'm just returning the same string. So it looks like anytime that the sentence is shorter than the limit, I'm just returning this. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it did say that here. When the string is already shorter than the given length, in that case, the string should be returned untouched. Okay, so all 3 of these examples would be examples of that. Yeah, okay. Does that sound right? Yep, it looks good. Okay, cool. All right. So now let's go to the next type of case. So here's a case where if I had the cat is fast and I had a limit of, let's say a limit of 12. Now let me just count this real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I believe. Yeah. and I have a limit of 12, then we're looking at something like the cat is fast over here. However, I would go to the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere here in the middle. And I would delete like 3 characters. But I did that wrong. I just fine. I would say, okay, I delete, but I delete 1 from the middle, then I delete 1 from this side and 1 from this side, and then I put in my 3 dots. Now let me just count and make sure that's right. So I have something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters on this side. Then I have 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 9. Then I have 10. Sorry, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, 16. I did something wrong. I need to take away more characters. So B, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So take 1 from here, 1 from here, and then 1 from here, 1 from here. Okay, let me count that again. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, and then 3 more. That's 7, and then 4 more. That's 11. Now I'm missing 1, so I'd want to add 1 back. Now, if we're going to have unequal amounts, the problem said, what did the problem say? It said the first side should be longer or the second side should be longer. The second part should be longer. Okay, so I want to add 1 back here. Let me just check this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't count that period. Then 1, 2, 3. That's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that looks good. I've got the here. I've got an empty space. I've got my 3 dots. That's the glue by default. Then I've got 5 here. Now it doesn't work out to be equal, but there's 1 more character on the last part than on the first part. Here again, it's like, to me, a great example of why we build out examples. Now, I asked the interviewer, does that look right? Now, I'm only as fast as I am, right? I'm just as dumb or smart as I'm going to be on that given day in my body. So if the interviewer is like, you're so dumb, took you way too long to figure that out, well, I guess I'm not going to get the job. But you can't convince me that we're somehow going to do better by not making examples. If you believe that, then you know, of course, you don't have to be persuaded by what I'm saying. But I think most times the interviewer is going to say, yeah, okay, you stumble through it, you figure it out. But we can't make sure we understand until we build out some examples like this. Okay, and I don't think anybody should feel dumb. I tell anyone, like, hey man, I'm just me. I can only go into the interview being me. I can't cram for an interview. I can't be all smart in a couple days. I just got to continue to work to be better. And if I fail, I fail. Okay. So here's an example then where our string is a little bit longer than our thing, but we have plenty of room for our ellipses here. Okay, so then if I had an example like what the problem says, where I'm given something like dot dot or dash dash dash, that's easy. I would just do the same thing, but I would do dash dash dash, right? Yep, okay, cool. Now there's also this case where I have something more. I'm going to use asterisks here. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now it's kind of dramatic, but if I have 10 and I'm a limit of 12, that would work fine, right? I would put 10 of these in the middle, and I would only have room for the first and the last character. So I know I have 12 because I have 10 asterisks, 1 T and 1 T. I have, oh, I'm sorry, I did make a mistake here, and that needs to be just a period. Good. I have 10 asterisks, and then I've got my period and my T over here. This seems to be fine because it said, back to the problem, it said that a minimum of 1 character on either side, which I have here, even though one of these characters is a period, but nothing against that. And so that would work out fine. Now, if I took this same example and I added even 1 more asterisk to it, in theory, what it would do is take away from the front and add another asterisk. But in practice, they said we must have at least one character additionally on each side. So this isn't right. What I want to do is, let me just look at the problem here. I want to return the string, the first limit characters of the string. So it seems to me that what I want to do here is take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So up until F. And I want to put that here. My computer's going kind of slow. Oof. Okay, does that, am I understanding that correctly? I'm looking at this, but I'm, there's a lot going on in this problem. Did I understand that correctly? And again, checking in with the interviewer. The interviewer says, yeah, that looks good. Or, you know what? I was confused by that too. Or I didn't understand that. Or, you know what? I understood it this way. And maybe the interviewer's right, maybe they're wrong, right? But at least by nailing down these examples, we kind of force all those questions to the surface. Okay, cool. So this is pretty good. And notice, right, I said 6 to 8. What do we got here? We've got 7. It's not about saying, oh, I got 7, therefore I'm done. It's about thoroughly exploring the problem, but it's going to take us at least this many to thoroughly explore the problem. And this is we're pretty close on exploring the problem. Let's look about this. Other possible edge cases. There are some surprises. Interesting. I don't, I'd probably say something like, besides for the examples here, nothing really jumps out to me. Can you think of any edge cases that I'm not seeing right off the bat? Now, the interviewer might not help you out. They might just say, like, they might think, yeah, I see like 3 edge cases that you're not seeing, but I'm not about to tell this candidate all the edge cases. What I find is if you will follow this very deliberate process, it will have the tendency to make the interviewer more likely to help you. No guarantees. I'm not telling you they're going to bend over backwards for you. But if you'll do this, they're more likely to say, oh, what about a case like this? Or how about this? Did you think about this? Great. Let's think about this for a minute. What other edge cases are there? The limit is longer. Go ahead, Trian.
Oh, you're still thinking. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Jump in.
Okay. Because we have for the glue, but an edge case would be like if it doesn't exist, like if it's not there. Like
If glue doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, so these 3 cases cover that, right? There's no glue passed down these 4 cases. I'm sorry. Cover that. You can see how I'm writing out my parameters here in the input, right? 1, 2, 3. So they said that there could be no glue.
Yeah.
That if there's no glue, if no glue is sent, ... should be used by default. So here no glue is sent, but we don't need to use it anyways. Here no glue is sent, but we don't use it anyways. Here no glue is sent and we don't need to use it anyways. Here no glue is sent and we do default to the ... So I think those cases that case is covered. Because that definitely is something we need to think about.
Okay.
Anybody else think of something we not looking at here? Don't know. Let's get started. Yell it out if you think of it. Maybe we'll come across it as we go. Okay, great. Next is write out this. Now this is done for us here, but oftentimes the interview it wouldn't be done for you, so I recommend you do that. All right, now we're gonna write some pseudocode. Fun. Got 9 minutes. Let's go. I'll probably go a little bit long in class today, but of course, you all can do whatever you like. Feel free to leave early. I hope we finish this problem. I think we will. Can't go too long because of my schedule, but let's go. All right, so if length is longer than string, return string. How about that? If length is greater than string length, and again, I just indent to show I'm inside my if statement, return string. Okay, that would settle these 3 cases here, at least. All right, then we say if string is string length. Let's shorten our length by the length of the glue. So something like if no glue is defined, then we know that glue equals ... I should write that as pseudocode, so I'll say set glue to ... But that's not all. We also want to reduce our length. So I say here, reduce length by 3, because I want to see how many characters I'm going to be able to fit from my string, and I can't fit the full length. I have to fit in the glue, so I got to put that in first. Okay, something like that. Now, even when I'm writing my pseudocode, right, I'm kind of writing it with these tests in mind. I'm not worried so much about these cases yet. That might lead me to refactor my pseudocode. I'm not going to try and do everything at once, one thing at a time. All right, reduce my length by 3. And then something like, what if I split string into 2 halves? Let's be more specific. Let's say, see, the reason I don't like this line, to be clear, is you tell me how you would do this in 1 line of code. Could it be done? Sure. We could figure out how to split it, like, but we can't split on a character, right? We have to find the middle of the string and then split it. So even that, we probably need to do like find the middle of the string. That should be our pseudocode. And then we'll split it on something like that. This is not a good line of pseudocode, so I stop myself, delete it. And I'm trying to talk to the interviewer as I go. You know what? Split a string in 2 halves. That's not going to be easily effectuated in code. So let me rethink that. Instead, I want to do something like find the middle of the string. Then create variable for first half of the string, variable to hold the first half of string. We'll just go ahead and copy that and paste, create a variable to hold the second half of the string. Okay, cool. Now, could I do something like return? Now, before we return, let's process these halves of strings. So shorten first half by floor of length. And then from taking from end. Here, I would say shorten second half by ceiling of length, taking from beginning. We'll have to test that, right? I'm not like rock solid on my logic there, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to work. And you know, I know that because I practice these kind of problems so many times, not because I'm so good or gifted or anything else, but you go look at my score, and when you have a score like mine, you also will be so good at this. You'll probably be good at this way before you have a score as high as mine, because you're probably better and smarter and quicker than I am. I'm not that good, quick, or smart at these kind of problems. But if you're like me, and heck, if you're worse than me, okay, just go practice even more. Okay, then here we return the first half plus the glue plus second half of the string. Okay, then I might tell the interviewer something like, all right, let me review this real quick. I know, first of all, I'm not handling glue of different lengths. I'm just kind of assuming right now, sort of these cases here. Not even this case here, not really, but definitely these cases here. So I'm just going to have to modify my pseudocode to take into account these here. Now, thinking about this, if the length is greater than the string, return string. Yep, I'm pretty confident about that. If there's no glue, Then set glue to an ellipses, sure. Reduce the length by 3. That's the length of the ellipses here. Find the middle of the string. I'm just going to type this out real quick. So if I had something like the cat is fast, this is where having a console handy, I think, really can help when you're doing an interview. We might go over to Replit in just a second. I'd probably even tell the interviewer, hey, do you mind if I run a couple things in the console as I'm running this? And they might say, you know what, I need to really think through it. Or they might say it's okay. So here's my length. My length is 16. Find the middle of the string. So I'm thinking that's like length divided by 2 is 8. Okay, create a variable to hold the first half of the string. Okay, and then how am I going to get the first half of the string? If I were to do this string dot slice 8, that gives me is fast. Okay, that's not right. What if I do from 0 to 8? Oops, I got an extra comma in there. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That looks right. That does look like the first half of the string to me. And then I've already made kind of this mistake, which was a fortuitous mistake. I can count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, if I do something like that, it does look like I get each half of the string. So that would make sense. Then shorten the first half by the floor of the length. Okay, the floor of the length, I see I made a mistake here. I mean the floor of the length divided by 2. Find the middle of the string. Yep. So yeah, okay. The floor of the length divided by 2. That's 8 divided by 2. Think about this for a second. Shorten the first half by the floor of the length divided by 2. So the length in, for example, here is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. But I've subtracted it. So it's actually 12 minus 3 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. The floor of that is 4. So I'd be shortening the first half by 4. Here is my thing. So the first half we said is this. Shortening it by 4 would be the and a space. Does that match what I'm looking for? The and a space. Yes. So that does look correct. Now for the second one, it would be length divided by 2. That's 4.5. The ceiling of that is 5. And so I'm shortening the second half by 5. Now, I think actually I have that wrong. I think this needs to be the ceiling and this needs to be the floor. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What does my second half look like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It should be shortened by 3. So I think I'm actually doubly wrong. I think this needs to be the floor minus 1. 4.5. The floor of that is 4, but I actually want to shorten it by 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I get to fast 1, 2, 3. So my length is 12. I subtract 3. That's 9. 9. I want to subtract not 4, but I want to allow that many. Interesting. So now I'm thinking I might have to rework my logic here a little bit because I don't want to subtract that many. I want to allow that many. So I want to allow 4 on the front end and 5 on the back end. So in order to do that, I look at the length of what I have, which I have from the middle here. That's 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. On the other side, 4 plus 3 is 7. I want to allow 5. Okay, so I got to rework my logic here and say, I don't think this pseudocode is right. I like this. for the half of the string and this second half of the string, but I don't like these two lines here. I'm going to take those away. And I'm going to figure this out again. But I'm going to go with a different approach here. For the first half of the string, I want to allow a certain amount. How many do I want to allow? I want to allow the length minus 3 divided by 2. Let me work that again. So I say, okay, find how many characters are allowed from first half. Okay, that's this again. This is not pseudocode, right? I think it's okay to put something like this in, but you have to acknowledge like this is not pseudocode. If you stop and ask, how would I turn this line into code? We can do it, but we're gonna have to break it into multiple lines. So it's fine to make a note like this, but you got to at least think to yourself, okay, this is kind of a note. I got to figure out how to actually do this. So I'm saying something like, I want the length divided by 2. Okay, and then if that is an odd number, I want the floor of it. I still think that's correct. So find floor of length divided by 2. That's how many characters are allowed in the first half. So set variable for chars allowed to this. Okay, then I can do something like, I have to think. If I slice first half from 0 to variable for chars allowed. Something like that. Okay, I'm gonna work that one back. So I've got the cat as fast as my example. I know this length is 16. I'm gonna put an ellipses in the middle, which would give me a string like this. I want to put some number of characters on the beginning and the end. I've already got a variable for the first half of the string. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me just put that down real quick. So here is that string. It's a little bit confusing because it's got a trailing space we need to show here. Great. All right. So that would be my variable there. Then I say set variable that characters allowed to the floor of length divided by 2. Now length has been changed up here. So length is 12 minus 3 equals 9. Sorry, my typing is lagging. I think when I stream on Zoom, after a while, it gets kind of slow. Okay, then I want to find floor of length divided by 2. So then I have 9 divided by 2 equals 4.5, and the floor of that is 4. Cool. Then I'm saying slice from the first half from 0. So this would be this string here. Dot slice from 0 to 4. Now I know that slice starts at that 0 and takes 0, 1, 2, 3, and it stops there. It will not include the 4th index. Now I go up here and I check, and that does look correct for this example. The plus is space. So that seems fine. Let me see if I can find the logic for the second half of the string. I imagine it's pretty similar. I'm going to go with create a variable to hold the second half of the string. That makes sense. Then set a variable to find chars allowed. Okay, we know that it could be different chars. I probably can find a more efficient way to do this, but for right now, let me just write this out longhand. Okay, that variable for chars allowed is length divided by 2. But now I can do the ceiling of length divided by 2. And then I'm going to slice, I'm going to copy this line here. I'm going to slice the second half from, I want to slice from the back. right? Because I don't want to take the first one here. I want to chop some things off. So I'm gonna slice from something like string dot length minus allowed. Does that make sense? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Let me walk through it. So my second half of the string is this here. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay, that's 8. That makes sense. So then the characters allowed is the ceiling of the length. The length was 9. How do I know that? Because it was originally 12, but we made we minus 3 for the ellipses. So 9 divided by 2 is equal to 4.5. 4.5, the ceiling of that, meaning rounded up, is 5. So I'm saying this is 5. So now I'm down here, slice the second half. That's this string here. Just keep this clear. Minus slice second half from string dot length. So if I'm correct, I want slice. The string dot length is 8. The allowed is 5. So that would be 3. What would happen if I slice this from 3? Let's give it a try. Fast. All right, let me check if that matches my test. So that's saying fast plus a period. And I look up at my example and I see, yep, fast plus a period. Okay, I'm feeling pretty confident. Again, I acknowledge I haven't even dealt with a different glue with different characters and a different glue of a different length. So I've still got some pretty serious logic to work out here, but I'm feeling confident that I've solved until here. And actually, this one I think would be trivial to solve given it's the same length. This, though, is going to require some new logic. Okay, now, you only have so much time in an interview, right? And again, I say follow this process, whether you've got 5 minutes or you've got 5 hours. I think this is the best way to go. I think an interviewer is seeing how you're thinking here, and they're like, oh yeah, this looks really good. This is a person that, you know what, they might take an hour longer there or 2 hours longer than the next person, but this person's a bulldog. They're going to go after it. And they're going to stay on the problem. They think clearly, they express their thoughts clearly. And if I were to come over to their desk and or Zoom them, and they could probably break down what they're working on and show it to me and walk me through it, and I could help them if I needed to. Those are all things that I'm looking to demonstrate while I'm interviewing like this. With this here, I'm going to clean up a little bit. So I've written out some like of these things. We don't need to leave this. So let's say create a variable to hold second half of string. Cool. And delete that. Set variable for chars allowed to ceiling of length divided by 2. Yep, good. I'm good there. Slice second half from string dot length minus allowed to variable string dot length minus chars allowed to variable for chars allowed. I'm pretty sure we don't need this, right? It's just string, slice the second half of the string from string dot length, which we said was 8, minus the chars allowed, which is 5. So I can get rid of the rest of this. Cool, clean that up. Good, that's looking good. And now I can go ahead and delete that, delete that, delete that, and delete that. Great, and we can even delete this. Okay. Now I say, okay, I've done some really good pseudocode here. I'm well on my way, but I still got to solve these. Now, unfortunately, we are out of time. So we're going to leave this problem here. You guys can continue on. We need to go back and rework this logic, make it a little more dynamic. But this logic probably holds even for a longer one, except for when we get a case like this, where we say, if after we reduce the length, not by 3, but by the length of glue, if that doesn't allow at least one character on each side, then we just want to slice from the beginning of the string from 0 to length. Let me just do that real quick. That one's easy. Looking at this case here, right? We say, if there's no glue, that's fine. Here we'll do an else. We can, again, probably consolidate these, but else, meaning else there is glue. reduce length by length of glue. And we say if length is less than 2, we can just go ahead and return string slicing from 0 to length. Now I got a problem. The problem is I mutated length. I changed it. So I don't have that anymore. I could solve this kind of jankily by saying to length plus glue length of glue. That's one thing I could do. Probably I'm better off here going back and saying, no, don't reduce length by 3, but rather create a new variable for how much we have left after we use the glue. That would require a lot of refactoring, even in our pseudocode. You got to make your judgment calls in an interview. If it's real code, if you're in a job, you should stop and fix all of those things. If it's in an interview, I might say, yeah, that works. That's good enough. Okay, what else here? Honestly, that might solve it. What about this? Here I have 10. Let's walk through it in this example. Is length greater than string.length? No, because this is 12 and this is 16. Okay. Is there no glue? No, there is glue here. Okay, go on. Reduce the length by the length of glue. Okay, glue is 10. I remember from when I made my example, and length is 12. So 12 minus 10 equals 2. Great. Is the length less than 2? Nope, it is 2. Great. Return string. Nope, I'm sorry. That's not true. Move on. Find the middle of the string. Okay, we already did that, right? We said that was 8. Create a variable to hold the first half of the string. Okay, we worked through this enough. We know that it is the cat is. I probably shouldn't have deleted my examples before, right? Well, I was done. Not the cat is, but the cat with an empty string. Set variable for characters allowed to find the floor of length. Length divided by 2. My bad here. I made a mistake. So length is 2 divided by 2 equals 1. What's the floor of that? 1. So what is this? 1. Okay. Slice the first half from 0 to variable for characters allowed. This slice from 0 to 1 is going to give us t. Now I can check up in my solution and I see that t is indeed correct for the first half. Okay. I'm pretty sure we're good here. I'm not going to walk through it. You can do the same thing if you want. I'm pretty sure we're going to come up with the period and then we're going to return it and we're good. I'm not sure what edge cases we missed. Once you fill in all this pseudocode, I suppose you will see. And well, I should have caught them, whatever they are. I'm not sure. Otherwise, I think we solved this problem pretty solidly. And we moved, we started at like 11:04 maybe on this problem. So I've been going 40 minutes. I think I'd go slightly faster in the interview, but not much. And we would just hope that given our ability to understand and break down the problem and build examples and build pseudocode, that the interviewer would give us quite a good recommendation, even if we haven't finished our code. The last thing I will say is, if I had any opportunity to finish the code and email that interviewer, I would do it. So I would say, I enjoyed so much interviewing with you today. I was, remiss that we didn't get to fully finish the solution. I don't like to let things like that lie. I finished the solution. Here it is. If you encountered anything, I realized later I would have missed this edge case or whatever. I just encourage you to be fully transparent. I changed my pseudocode from the interview because it wouldn't have handled this thing. I look forward to the opportunity to talk to you further, something like that. I work with, again, lots of students, and I always think highly of those that oftentimes we don't have time to finish a problem, just the way it goes. I always think highly of those who the next day or later that same day say, hey, I didn't let that problem go. I fixed it up. I finished it, and here it is. All right. Quick things here. Derek says, so by demonstrating your logic step by step and showing the interviewer your pseudocode is much more important than anything else in a tech interview. Hey, what's important is subjective. I think you'll get great mileage out of this process. I think that an interviewer is looking for how you think and how you communicate, and also how systematic is your thinking. Building examples like this is an example of systematic thinking. I have to think, what's my simplest valid case? Then what comes next? 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 What am I missing? And we build up into that. Chaotic thinking, or what I might call chaotic thinking is, oh, well, I could have a string like this, but it could be this, but it could be this. But what about this? Well, what about if this is passed in? It's like, I don't want that on my team. Chaotic thinking is not what you want when you're engineering. You want very clear, consistent, concise thinking as much as possible. It does not mean simple, right? We still work up into more complicated things, but I want clear, systematic thinking. And that is one of the highest, one of the things that I prize most highly. And I don't think I'm unique in that, in terms of an engineering manager or someone who's looking to hire. And of course, good communication. And of course, someone who's dogged about figuring out a problem and can explain what they're doing and communicate. If you can't talk and write this out, just because you haven't practiced enough, that's all. Just because you haven't practiced enough. Doesn't become easy until you work through lots of this and then practice more, do it more, gets better.